Alright. Mahjong is a really fun game to get to know all the different types of information that is located on these cards, and different ways to organize the elements of the periodic table. However, this Mahjong's hand card can be a little bit confusing, so I would just like to explain how you make up the different hands. And yeah, so there's two ways to play: the advanced version, which has a lot of different options to get points, and the introductory version, which just has a few easier to obtain hands. So all 7 of your cards need to match the hand that you're going for. So for example, one of the hands you can go for is all cards in periods 1, 2, and 3. So here we have an example of that hand. You have 2 cards in period 1, 4 cards in period 2, and 1 card in period 3, for a total of 7. And then you would win that, and you would get the associated number of points, 200. Okay. The hands that involve groups, where is this? There we go. So 2 groups from the S or P block, or a hand made up of 3 groups from the D block. So here's an example of a hand made up of 2 groups from the S or P block. You have group 2 and group 15. That's 2 groups, and they're both from either the S or the P block. Group 15 is located in the P block, and group 2 is located in the S block. So that would be an example of a hand that meets that requirement. Alright, now for some examples of hands that are made up of categories. So you can have a hand that's made up of all lanthanides or all actinides or all post-transition metals or any 2 of the rest of the categories. So here's an example of a hand made up of any 2 of the smaller categories. We have the non-metals and we have the noble gases. You can identify categories based on the border. It also says the name of the categories right here. And that would be worth 400 points. And then here is an example of a hand made up of all lanthanides, which would be worth 500 points. Alright, now let's talk about hands that you can make based off of what elements are named after, or the meaning of the element. So, the element's name. So we have a few different hands you can get based on that criteria. You have elements that are named after a color or an appearance, elements that are named after a scientist, elements that are named after mythological figures and or celestial bodies, and elements that are named after minerals. And if you have a question about whether or not an element meets one of those categories, there is one of these informational cards is all about element names, and it lists what elements fit into those criteria. So let me just give a brief example. Here I have a hand made up of all elements named after mythological figures and or celestial bodies: mercury, niobium, vanadium, cadmium, helium, promethium, and cerium. And here I have a hand made up of all elements that were named after minerals. So yeah, there you go. That's how you make hands based on what elements are named after. Another hand that you can win from is a hand that's based on all elements that are either liquid or gas at room temperature, and that information you can find with this icon right here. For example, bromine is a liquid at room temperature. Hydrogen is a gas at room temperature. All these elements are either liquid or gas at room temperature, indicated by this icon. So that would get you 700 points. Another hand that you can make is based on whether an element is a noble metal or a metal of antiquity. A hand constructed of all of those, made up of all of those elements, will earn you 600 points. You can also get points for getting 7 cards that are all essential elements, indicated by the DNA strand icon. And you can make up a hand with all cards that are crying metals and or poisons. And finally, for the advanced version of Mahjong, you can make up hands based on where they're found, where they occur. So these icons right here indicate where these elements are found. Some are found only in the atmosphere, some are found in both the atmosphere and in land. Some are found in land and water. Some are found in all three, land, water, and air, such as carbon. This card right here also explains those icons. You also have elements that are only found in laboratories, indicated by that hammer icon.